You are back in Noir Alley, and I am still your host, Eddie Muller. I just wanted to reassure myself of that before we get started, because today's movie features what my late colleague Lee Server called film noir's version of the common cold. Yes, amnesia is central to the plot of 2 O'Clock Courage, a sprightly 68-minute B made at RKO in 1945. Memory loss figured so prominently in noir films of the 40s, it's tempting to think that's where the plot device began. In truth, amnesia has been a staple of crime movies since the silent era, in pictures like Love Without Question, Mist in the Valley, and The Net. 2 O'Clock Courage is based on a 1934 novel, same name, by Gillette Burgess. It was adapted at RKO in 1936 as Two in the Dark, directed by studio workhorse Benjamin Stoloff, who made dozens of B pictures, mostly westerns. By the early 40s, Stoloff had become a producer, and he recycled the 1936 film as a vehicle for one of the studio's busiest actors, Thomas Charles Sanders, a.k.a. Tom Conway, the older brother of actor George Sanders. Conway had plenty of bit parts in the early 40s, but he became a leading man by replacing his brother as the Falcon, the suave sleuth he played in 10 pictures for RKO. In addition, Conway was featured in a trio of horror classics by the great Val Lewton, as well as standalone crime movies like A Night of Adventure, Criminal Court, and 2 O'Clock Courage. Conway was kept so busy at RKO, at times it must have felt like he was making the same picture over and over. The one he made before this, The Falcon in Hollywood, featured many of the same players who are in 2 O'Clock Courage, and in both films, the female lead is a taxi driver. She's played in today's movie by the always chipper Anne Rutherford. As a teenager, Rutherford was known to audiences as Mickey Rooney's girlfriend, Polly Benedict, in MGM's Andy Hardy movies. She also played Scarlett's youngest sister in that big Civil War movie. By 1945, Rutherford was a fully grown 27-year-old, and she left MGM to find more adult roles. In 2 O'Clock Courage, it feels just like Polly has moved to the big city and taken a job driving a hack. The main difference between the 1936 and 1945 versions of 2 O'Clock Courage is that the earlier one was a straight drama. This one, like many B films of the era, throws in a little bit of everything. It's got suspense, it's a whodunit, a backstage drama, and a madcap comedy. Goofy hijinks play a big part in this picture, which is not something you normally associate with director Anthony Mann. He was already 39 years old when he got this assignment, his first at RKO after having made several low-budget Bs at other studios. You can sense Mann's flair for dynamic direction, pushing against the constraints of a loopy script and a short shooting schedule. He seems frustrated with scripted comedy, but invigorated when he can have fun with the camera and the staging of action. Jack Mackenzie, who photographed the film, worked exclusively on Bs, most notably the Mexican Spitfire series RKO made as vehicles for Lupe Velez. His work is serviceable, but it wouldn't be until Mann worked with DPs like George Discant and John Alton that he had collaborators who could bring his unique vision to life. Now, a woman who'd soon portray one of the greatest femme fatales in noir has her first speaking role in this film. 20-year-old Jane Greer, billed under her real name, Betty Jane, makes quite an impression in her short screen time. Her portrayal of a slinky, conniving actress is merely a tune-up for her legendary turn as Spider-Woman Kathy Moffat in Out of the Past, made at RKO 2 years later. Also featuring Richard Lane, Lester Matthews, and Gene Brooks, here is the 6th film by Anthony Mann to appear on Noir Alley, 2 O'Clock Courage.